Oh, that's a big win for Liverpool. But we were just talking about what a big moment this is.
I appreciate that introduction because it is a massive statement win.
Yeah.
I think the conversation that we just had on the kickoff there was that, yeah, it was a good win for Liverpool, but Liverpool should have won that because Everton are struggling down the bottom of the table and Liverpool going for the league, and therefore, no jeopardy, you should win the game. It's not that. Beating Everton, your biggest rivals, off the back of playing your other biggest rivals, 2 consecutive games. It's 72 hours or whatever it is between the games. I think it's a really massive result for Liverpool today. And I would have said, if I were a Man City fan looking at Liverpool's fixtures, which presumably you're doing to them, they're doing to you, Man City fans looking at their fixtures, you go through them and you go...
Draw.
Yeah, there's a chance. You're playing... You're Man City fans, you're in a pub, you're talking to each other and you go, they're playing Man United and then Everton... back to back,
then Villarreal, and then Newcastle. Yeah, there's.
But those two back to back, I honestly, I feel like around this table, the general vibe was decent result for Liverpool, but expected result for Liverpool. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's a massive result today.
I especially
really
think in Liverpool, and I think for the Liverpool players as well, there have been times over the last few years where there's been that narrative arc with Everton where obviously they lost to them for the first time last season at Anfield in a very, very, very long time. And then secondly, there's also obviously the whole Virgil van Dijk thing. That was the beginning of the decline that season. So to put away these kind of ghosts, if you like, is good for this Liverpool side. And not only that, but I think... Everton went out there to disrupt Liverpool, clearly to counter-attack, and I think you've got to respect that they counter-attack, that's fine. But to disrupt Liverpool, to be aggressive, to be overly aggressive and like violent to that degree, I think Liverpool matched it, and then they also went above that as well. You could see Trent was up for it, you could see Andy Robertson was up for it.
Yeah,
Andy Robertson, for me, Andy Robertson was man of the match today, because that Liverpool midfield didn't have the same level of aggression and bite in it. They've got the level of fouling in, and they're definitely going to harry the opposition. But today, the wings were so important for Liverpool, and I think Andy Robertson was man of the match for me.
Yeah, I think you're right, because do you know that moment that happened in the first half? You know when Richarlison was down, Liverpool chose, rightly or wrongly, I have to see the incident again, but Liverpool chose to not kick the ball out.
So he twisted his ankle, didn't he? But it wasn't a foul, but he did twist his ankle, because it was step over, step over, step over, and he
went over on his ankle. So should he have kicked the ball out? I don't know. I'd probably say yes if I supported Everton and no if I supported Liverpool, and that's football fans and that's how it is. If it's a Chelsea player down, I'm saying kick it out. If it's an Arsenal player down, I'm saying play on. And I'm honest enough to say that. So I think Liverpool probably didn't do the wrong thing. Everton probably did do the right thing by getting angry. So nobody's done the wrong thing.
No, but I did think Decore sort of just kicked him out of nowhere. But you could kind of tell there was that was how the game was.
But you showed enough comeback to that. I think
that's my point.
Your team had enough fight in it and enough aggression in it without going overboard. In a derby like this, it felt like it's almost certain somebody would have been sent off at some point.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So you had the discipline, but you also had the fight. And you are right. Andy Robertson, he's so tenacious. And I think there's something there, isn't there? You know the Scots and Liverpool. They seem to get it. They seem to get it, don't they? They seem to really get it, and he seems to have massively done that.
And down the ages, obviously, I think the first Liverpool team was a lot of Scotsmen as well, because they went. Obviously, they needed a team to replace the Evertonians that had gone to Everton, and so they bought the team of all the Max. That was called. And I think that was a mixture of Scotsmen and a couple of Englishmen, maybe an Irishman was in there, and then. We've had great Scottish players throughout the ages. And you kind of forget that Andy Robertson is Scottish.
Yeah, he's
they're
very
not as
much
prominent anymore.
Yeah.
But, you've had like Dalglish, Anderson's one of
Souness,
some
of the best.
So many of them. There are many, many more. And so I think ultimately Andy Robertson goes kind of overlooked, because he also plays on a side where Mane gets a lot more of that credit. Yeah. There's a lot more crosses.
And also, he's unlucky in as much as, when you discuss Liverpool fullbacks, you probably discuss Trent Alexander-Arnold because he's a more interesting fullback. He's a more creative fullback. But Andy Robertson, class act.
But also Andy Robertson is underappreciated because you've got Virgil van Dijk on that side of the defence. So people don't naturally attack that side. So the action happens on the right. The interceptions happen on the right. And then when we've seen a few games where Andy Robertson has been attacked, and he's not always liked it, but he's stood up to it. He's done the right thing.
He's also fearless, isn't he? In the way that he should be, but not in the way that people always are.
And I think Liverpool have become more like that and begun to embody, all the team have begun to embody that fearlessness that I think they need to challenge City for a title like that. The thing that I was fearful of today was the midfield, because I was worried in a game like this that if you play Thiago, if you play Keita, remember Thiago got injured in this game,
Yes.
So there was the fear for me that it wasn't quite robust enough in that midfield. And then today they go out there, and I think they were quicker than they needed to be. They played it around them very easily, a lot of shapes, and they spread it out wide. Thiago has shown how he's adapted to this Liverpool team so well this season. Not only against United, where he played a different kind of role, but then against Everton today, where it's closer, it's a bit tighter. He's dictating tempo, and he's able to keep up with the tempo. I think a lot of people thought, oh, this is a guy who's beyond his best now. He's just going to be there to stand there, play the classy wide balls out.
No, he's so much better than that.
And he is.
Because he's filth himself, in a positive sense. I use that word positively.
Yeah. He'll get messy with everyone else. And I think a lot of people thought this is a guy who's going to want to be above the game, and he's not been.
Mate.
He's done well with Fabinho, he's done well with Keita, and his distribution out to Mane and out to Salah was key. But the real difference today was, again, and it's been so many times, the substitutions. 2 players come on, and it changes the shape of the game. And Origi had changed the shape of the game all of a sudden.
And then you bring on Diaz and
Origi. Sorry, well, Diaz and Origi have big influence, but Origi immediately, they put him in a different position. He's a player who plays differently to the Mane, a player who plays differently to the likes of Jota, and you've got a change in shape that Everton's back line, who have gone, all right, we've been expecting a lot of crosses here. Suddenly they go on the ground, they go inside, and it's a goal.
Yeah, I know. It's a massive result. The way that you got the result was very impressive, because it was 0-0 at half-time, which is exactly what Everton would have hoped for. You know, Liverpool's stand-up performances are usually blitzkrieg early on, 2-3-0 at half-time, and that's how they win these massive games. Whereas today was tight, and I think Everton probably played about as well as they could have hoped to have done.
Especially on the counter as well. I think they actually had the better of the chances that happened in the first half and early in the second.
I mean, and look, it may have been soft, but you've seen them given. Everton could have had a penalty. It would have been a soft penalty.
Yeah, it would have been soft. There were a few shots in the back that were sort of...
There was one silly challenge on Anthony Gordon, wasn't there?
Do you know the difference, though? I think that a penalty comes if you do anything to the feet.
Yeah.
To the feet.
And the thing is, because Anthony Gordon is a slight, small individual...
Right.
I think a ref will always see it.
Michael Owen used to have that problem.
Yeah, I think they see it as... It's just coming together, and he's more flimsy than the other one, rather than a foul. Whereas if Solomon Rondon goes down under the same sort of challenge, it looks far more. It looks like you must have shoved him down because he's so big.
And also, there was the early time where he did actually dive, which didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't help your cause for sure.
The other aspect is, I think Liverpool, as happy as they are with the result today, will not be happy with, again, sort of condemning Everton. They'll be happy to up the heat on Everton, and it's always fun to watch them struggle. I don't think anyone realistically, in their heart of hearts, wants to see Everton relegated.
I think you personally are a very kind man, because I reckon a lot of Liverpool
brothers out there.
There's a lot of Liverpool fans that will enjoy Everton's peril. I think there's a lot of people out there that will enjoy Lampard being part of Everton's pitfalls.
Do you think they're in trouble now?
I think I saw enough in their performance today, actually. If they play like that, the problem is they don't. Because if they played like they played today against Burnley, they wouldn't have lost that game. But if Lampard can somehow say, look, the performance that you put in, the potential Premier League winners, if you put in a performance like that in your remaining games, like if they play like that against Arsenal, they get a point.
But that's part of it, is they're not doing that right now, and that's actually their problem.
Yeah, and Burnley's fixtures, man.
Yeah,
Burnley's fixtures. Burnley have found a winning formula. I thought that Everton were totally going to be okay when they sacked Dyche. When Burnley sacked Dyche, I couldn't see a world in which they weren't. But now, they're probably going to have to win. They're going to have to take 7 points.
They're going to have to take from the final.
I'd say 7 points.
But Burnley?
No, Everton.
So that means they'll be 5 points ahead of Burnley. And you're saying to me Burnley can't win 2 games in these last few here?
Well, I suppose, mate, up until fairly recently, they'd won 2 games all season. But I know it's changed now.
It's so in the balance right now. I think that's what makes it so hard to judge. And that's kind of my frustration today, was actually Adam sat next to me and went, I actually think Richarlison's had a good game. I think Richarlison had a game where he was shown to be active. I don't think he had a good game. I think he got sucked into it with Liverpool.
He did what Adam likes.
He did what Adam likes. But it wasn't effective. Because Liverpool go, great, get into that with us. We love that.
Adam always responds and reacts well. And look, we've played football with him. We know the way that he likes to see the game.
Man.
We know the way that he likes to see the game played. So he would have liked what Richarlison did. I do as well, to a degree. I think he did what he should have done, but he needs to focus more on the football. Like you can't fight.
Yeah.
You can't be a fight. It has to be a football game first and then a fight, not a fight then a football game.
And he focuses so much more on himself than anyone else in the game, and that's what frustrates me. And if I was an Everton fan, I'd be angry.
I just can't work out whether they're going to survive or not. But I would say that the smart money is probably on Burnley to stay up now.
Okay. Well, that's disappointing. But I can't actually believe that there was one point where about 2 weeks ago we were going, actually, I think Everton is safe now. Oh wait, Everton are in trouble now. Everton is safe now. Everton are in trouble.
Yeah.
It's gone up and down.
Top four's done that as well.
Yeah,
Tottenham are in, Arsenal are in.
United were in it for a little while. Yeah. It's frustrating. Join us another time. Thanks a lot to Rory. We'll be over on his channel doing some more
huge
stuff.
Win. If you're a Liverpool fan watching this, massive couple of days for you there.
Couple of days. Villarreal on Tuesday. Join us for that as well. And we'll see you over on Rory Jennings' channel. Probably put a link down in the description. Love you guys. See you later. Bye.